Vinyasa. Welcome to all our visitors and guests. Vinyasa Neat. Christ is among us. I already said that. So brothers and sisters in Christ, today we come to what is called in the church Forgiveness Sunday. And the gospel is very clear. If you do not forgive those who trespass against you, neither will your Father in heaven forgive you your trespasses. It's probably the clearest commandment in the entire Bible. There's not much else that one can say about that. So let's talk about the reality of it. It can be very hard to forgive those who trespass against us. And one of the things that I've discovered is that the hardest people to forgive are the ones I love the most. The people who are closest and dearest to me. Those are often the ones that I have the hardest time forgiving. Because after all, I love them so much. How could they do such things? Right? If I don't really care that much about it, it's easy. Oh yeah, I forgive you. God bless you. Now go away. Because you don't have much of your heart invested. And that's the truth. The opposite of love is not hate or anger. It's apathy. It's not caring at all. When we have strong feelings of anger towards someone, it's usually because at one point we also had very strong feelings of love. And that love, which we have within us, that so desires to be fulfilled and has been blocked by our will, by their stubbornness, our stubbornness, their cruelty, our cruelty, that love gets clogged in the pipes, and so it builds up pressure inside of us, and we feel that tension inside of us, that anger inside of us, and that pain. And it's the pain that drives us to resentment. The pain that drives us to withhold forgiveness. Because we think that somehow, if we maybe twist tighter on that pipe, somehow that'll make the pain less. But you know what? Does it work? No. Instead, it just kind of gets rotten inside, and it gets malignant, and it starts to fester within us, and our anger and our resentment goes into like a long-term Cold War against the other person, maybe. So calling ourselves to forgive others, we need to recognize what it is within us. And that is, there is pain within us, and when we forgive people, we are not saying, that didn't hurt, or what you did was okay, or I think that was fine. It's saying that I don't want to feel pain anymore. I recognize that I was hurt. Maybe it was my fault, maybe it was your fault, maybe it was both our fault. In fact, it almost always is both. The insensitivity of one to another, or the impatience of one with another. And so we have to let it go, and not so hold on to it so tightly. That's why there's give in the word forgive. Give it, towards, away. You don't hold on to it anymore. I was having a hard time forgiving somebody who I felt had wronged me, even though I knew that I had wronged them. I had a number of friends that were close to me as brothers and sisters. And when I was ordained a priest, I lost some of those friends. And part of that was, it was a journey they didn't want to follow me on. They didn't get it. They didn't like it. They didn't want any part of it. The other part was, because I was a new priest, and I thought that when you're a priest, you're supposed to preach the gospel at all times and everywhere, and I didn't realize that the best way is to do that without words. I tried to tell them how to live their life, and of course they were very insulted, rightly so, because they knew me. They knew what a wretched sinner that I was. How could I tell them to change their life? And so I lost a number of friends that were dear to me. And for years I felt sad, I felt pain, and then it kind of started to fester inside, and I got resentful and angry, and I'll show them somehow. It's no good. It's no value. For years this stuff can go on. We have to forgive, we have to let it go. So I asked the priest, what do you do when you can't forgive somebody, when every time you even hear their name or see their name or somebody mentions them, you feel that twinge inside of you and you just want to curse their name. Honestly, that's what you want, right? That's what I felt. He said, I had this problem too. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And one day I was praying in the church, and it was in the monastery, and it was very peaceful and quiet. And as I was praying, I felt all that come up again, and I asked the Lord to take it from me. And He said that as He did so, his mind, imagine for a moment the Lord coming and pulling something right from His heart, right from His side. And when He looked down and the Lord put it in His hand, it was a piece of chalk, like sidewalk chalk, big piece of chalk that you might write on a sidewalk. And carved into the piece of chalk were the words of the thoughts, the evil thoughts that he had had towards those people, the thing that he wished most would happen to them as punishment for what they did. And he looked down and he realized that as he held the chalk in his hand, he didn't feel it anymore. He didn't identify with it anymore. That thought, which was cruel thought, had been inside of him for many years. And he realized as he held it in his hand, it wasn't inside of him anymore. He thought, I feel it's different. What do I do? And he asked the Lord, do I give it to you? The Lord said, I'm not going to take it from you. But what do I do with it? You hold it. Hold it? You hold it. And every time you are tempted to think those thoughts again, and to go back into that dark place of anger and resentment and the lack of forgiveness, remember, you have that in your hand, and if you're going to take it, you have to switch hands and start writing with it on the chalkboard of your life. And you will be writing the testimony of your own sin against yourself when you do it. So don't do it. And so he said, I still feel like I'm holding that chalk in my left hand. I feel like if I look down, it would be there. The weight of my sin, the testimony against me and my thoughts. I remember it and I hold it, but I do not take it up again. I let it be. And he said that after a week or so, and he prayed, was I just crazy, God? What was that all about? As he kind of looked down, he saw, even with spiritual eyes, that the place where his hurt was, where he carried the hurt, he felt it in his body. There was no darkness there anymore, but rather there was a glow of light. That there was a healing taking place inside of his heart and in his soul and even in his body. The light of Christ was patching that up. And St. Paul says today in the epistle we just heard to the Romans, take upon you the armor of light. When he had that light, he started to have the armor of light upon him. Because when we carry resentment and hardness of heart, that is an armor, but it is not an armor of light. It is an armor of darkness, of coldness, of cruelty, of sin. When we forgive, the light comes into the place where our wounds were, and it fills it, and it makes an armor of light around us. Only then can we know what the Apostle Paul is really talking about. So brothers and sisters, as we begin this great and holy fast of the Lent, praying for one another, let us also pray to each other. May God forgive us, each and every one of us, and forgive me, a sinner. Amen.